Hello, in this video we're going to take a look at multiplying polynomials. Our first example is going to be taking a binomial times a binomial. So a binomial is a polynomial that has two terms. So for example, 2x plus 5, 2x is a term, 5 is also a term. So 2x plus 5 has two terms, so does 4x minus 3. So we're taking a binomial times a binomial. When we do this, we take the first term from the first binomial and distribute it to every term in the next polynomial, in this case, the next binomial. So I'm going to take 2x times 4x, which gets me 8x to the second, and then 2x times a negative 3, which gets me negative 6x. Then my second term of 5, I distribute it to both terms in the second binomial. So 5 times 4x gets me a positive 20x. 5 times a negative 3 gets me negative 15. The next thing I look for is like terms. So I have the like terms of negative 6x and a positive 20x. So as we simplify this down, we'll end up with 8x squared. Combine my like terms here to get a positive 14x, and then bring down my negative 15. And that is what we get after we multiply those two binomials. Our second example takes a binomial and squares it. So recall, when you square something, that means to multiply it times itself. So for example, 3 squared is the same thing as taking 3 times 3. Well, the same is true in this case. When I take 3x minus 4 squared, that's the same thing as taking 3x minus 4 times 3x minus 4. Once I have it set up like this, my steps are the same as example 1. I distribute 3x to both terms in my second binomial, so we end up with 9x squared minus 12x, and then we distribute our negative 4 to both terms in the second binomial, which gets me a negative 12x and a positive 16. So notice in this case that these two middle terms were both negative 12x. That will always be the case, that these will be the same anytime you take a binomial and square it. So that gets me 9x squared minus 24x when I combine these two like terms, and then plus 16. And our last example. This time we have a sum and difference pattern. So it's not multiplying the exact same binomial times itself, but it's changing the signs between the two. So you see the sum and difference pattern. So when I have a situation like this, our steps are the same. We take 5x times 5x and 5x times 2, which gets me 25x squared plus 10x. And then we take our negative 2 and distribute it to both of these terms, which gets me a negative 10x and a negative 4. Notice my positive 10x and negative 10x are opposites of each other, so they cancel each other out completely. That will always be the case in a sum and difference pattern like this. And you are left with 25x squared minus 4.